I want to welcome everybody now to the Opperman Show Aftershow with one of my most fascinating guests that I really like, Hank Harrison. He's the father of Courtney Love. He's a psychologist, graduated Stanford and all these places, just a fascinating education. Traveled with the Grateful Dead. In an elevator with John Lennon, you know, and in an elevator with the other guy in a Robin Hood outfit.
David Bowie.
David Bowie in a Robin Hood outfit. You know, in the days of reality TV, man, I tell you, you missed it because you'd be a billionaire, you know? So, okay, now, oh, man, we're going to get calls by my regular guys. I got a couple of regulars who call in every week that are brilliant guys. You're going to like them, okay?
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get some calls, too, from some new people. Now, one question we got from the chat room while we were talking was a guy had a question, Jerry B., about what is your opinion about the whole theory about the two Paul McCartneys, how Paul McCartney died and replaced him?
Now, come on. Tin hat.
Okay.
I'm not, if I were to say that was wonderful, nobody would believe anything else I said. That's, you know, why? There's a law out there, there's a philosophical law. Everybody that has a theory, no matter how good or bad it is, should memorize this law. It's called the law of parsimony. It's called the law of parsimony, or Occam's razor, O-C-C-U-M. It's a medieval concept, and that is, never do with more than you can do with less. So keep it simple, stupid, and don't start assuming stuff like Paul McCartney had a doppelganger. And, okay, you know, go ask him. I know this stuff is grounded, stuff I'm talking about is grounded in real hairy, gory, bad parenting on my part and her mother. And it's my fault. So, you know, mea culpa, I didn't do enough to raise her correctly. I was too busy chasing down or being a rock and roll manager and bringing people down off a bad acid trip. So I feel guilty. I'll take that to my grave. But, you know, I'm not going to blame myself for killing Cobain.
Well, Hank, okay, listen, I appreciate that, you know, but you can only beat yourself up so much because, like you said, listen, this wasn't just your average divorce where, you know, the father lost touch with his daughter. Your daughter was taken to, like you said, this commune in Oregon with the Kinsey brother. Yeah. So there's an extra element here that's it goes way beyond. And bad parenting, my friend. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gave up looking for her for a while, too, see. I spent a lot of time and hired a couple of private detectives. They couldn't find her. I didn't even know her Social Security number, if she had one, so forth. But the thing is, the commune, by the way, wasn't just a bunch of really scurrilous hippies. These are some really, really wealthy people.
Right.
Okay, that's all I want to say about that. So they had the money to do what they wanted to do. It was a big mansion, gorgeous mansion. It had a bunch of teepees in the background and a house up the road, Springfield, Oregon, near the dairy. And they knew the Kesey brothers and the dairy and all that stuff. It was all in that scene.
Okay, now when you were saying about how she knew people that had a private jet, Eiling and stuff like that. Do you want to give us any information about that? Who you suspect was behind that kind of stuff?
I think the chronologies are off there. That was when she was 10 or 12 and 13 when she got thrown to juvenile hall. By the way, she didn't just go to what they call Borst. She didn't go to juvenile hall for about 2 days or anything. She was in there for 3 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And the only reason I got out, one day I went up to see her, and some deadhead chick in tie-dye comes up to me and says, "Are you Hank Harrison? Are you the guy that wrote the book?" I said, "Yeah." "Are you Courtney's dad?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm going to get her out of here. Why is she in here?" I said, "I'm here to get her out." She said, "Okay, I'll help you." And then she told me who to call, and I called this old hillbilly guy that thought he was running a Christian program out there. I said, "I'm going to get her out of here, you know." And then I got her out, and that was it. I worked hard. I got her out, and it's in her book. You can read one of her books. You can see that I did do it. So, you know, I was mad at her mother because her mother threw her in there, and I don't think that was necessary. Her mother also exposed her to all these shrinks because they thought they tried to reparent her. That's what they said. They tried to reparent Courtney. She was reparented because Linda said it in her biography that the reason she was upset is because as Courtney grew older, Courtney reminded her of me because I'm brash, I'm aggressive, and I'm not, I'm kind of scary sometimes because I'm bright, whatever. And I'm a big guy. I'm over 6 foot. And, I'm not that fat anymore, but I did go through a period where I was fat. But then I was in great shape. And I swam a lot. And anyway, make a long story short, Linda was not happy with the fact that Courtney and I had gotten back together. And so a lot of stuff got buried. And they wanted to keep her at juvenile hall, to keep her shut up, because there was a lot of money floating around out there. Because the mother-in-law, my mother-in-law, the grandmother, Courtney's adopted grandmother, Adele Risi, Luella Risi, was about to die and did die. And I heard that I couldn't see my daughter anymore. So I called Luella on the phone, and I said, Luella, I haven't talked to her for 10 years. I got her phone number.
I got audio. Anybody have audio trouble?
I don't know if it's true or not.
Okay.
But the mother-in-law, Luella Risi, died when she hung up the phone from when I talked to her. Crazy shit, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I don't think we're on the air right now. I think we okay, we have a bunch of callers. He dropped. You and me can hear each other. But
Okay.
I think we lost the server. Chris Wallace, you still here?
Yeah. I'm going to hang up. You want to bring me back?
No, Bruce is back. Cindy joining you back? Cindy Joyner, that's the server. CJ Mars, you back?
I'm still here.
I know you guys are there. Oh, we just lost, we're losing everybody. Now we just lost Cindy, you're back, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, let me just bring back our buddy here.
Cindy, I'm looking at the spelling. Is that Jean-Pierre?
It's
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre, yes.
Sorry, Cindy.
Are you French?
Yes, I am.
Pas français?
No, I don't.
Okay. We're forced to learn it here in Canada.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing?
Good, Christian. You?
Hey, guys. Okay, Hank, we got your back?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Okay, yeah. Now, okay, good. Yeah, you sound great. Yeah, what happened was we lost the server to cjmarsradio.com, so that's the most important thing to keep us on the air. Okay, but everybody's back. I got a couple of guys I want to introduce you to. One guy is Christian Wallace, and another guy is Bruce McDonald, and they're going to have some questions for you. Who wants to go first?
Oh, boy. You got something, Bruce? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I thank you very much for doing the show tonight, sir. I'll just call you sir.
Hank!
Okay.
Sir is my dead father.
Okay. Feel free to call me Bruce. I'm up here in Toronto, Canada. I'm 47, and I was a fan of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana back in the day. That was right around my time too. I remember going to university, and you couldn't go a day without hearing that song. The discussion I want to open up at the preliminary is the kind of attention that a celebrity murder or death like this gets, from the police. And, number one, why wasn't there any real strong advocate in Cobain's corner, like an estate?
Real. I got the answer to that, and that's a perfect question, man. I'm hoping somebody would ask me that. Aberdeen, Washington is like a kind of a considered town that doesn't exist. It's like a no man's land as far as people are concerned. And, it's just anybody from Aberdeen is considered what we would call a hillbilly up here, sort of like not really a reliable citizen of the universe, I think. And I believe that Kurt had to overcome that whole hostility in Seattle when he got popular. Then, to exacerbate the situation, good old Kurt decides to put a label on his guitar that says happiness is a rock in the cop's face, and I don't think they really appreciated that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then the third thing, and this is the real kicker, Courtney kept calling the cops and saying he was going to kill himself. She did it 3 or 4 times. They took his guns away. He was being perfectly cool, but they said no, and you know you are. So Courtney was very convincing. She's been able to stitch off people for years. In juvenile hall, she made her way in juvie by stitching people off. So yeah, well, I can tell you more about that too, but that's not the point. The point is, trust me on this. Courtney's a snitch, and Courtney will stitch to the cops no matter what, and she knows how to play the cops. She can play them like a fiddle, and that's what she did. She convinced them that Kurt was not worth, much, and that she was the big rock star, and she was the big celebrity. And because why? Because she was raised in the upper crust. She was raised when she was a little baby. Her first view of San Francisco was from the 13th or 14th floor of the Taylor Towers on Nob Hill. Okay? She had a 280-degree panoramic view from the Golden Gate Bridge to the San Mateo Bridge out her window. Okay? And that's how Courtney was raised. So her attitude was, I'm a goddess, and Kurt's kind of a country boy. So who are you going to believe? And the cops were so stupid, they went, well, a goddess, a real goddess. Oh, yeah. And they went for it. And she's a con, man. She's better than I am, man, and I'm good.
Generally, when you see this kind of money around a person like Kurt Cobain, because, there would be a will, there would be an estate, and murder would be a different kind of death as insurance views it. I'm amazed that nobody took all this forensics, which you articulated very well, a left-handed person shooting up on in their left arm, the amount of narcotics in him, and the inability to function, let alone get a gun and pull the trigger with that much narcotics. Yeah. Why the forensics wasn't lifted from jurisdiction the way federal resources will sometimes do in a civil rights case in the South and say, okay, well, we're taking this over. And if not the federal resources, because I don't think they really have celebrity deaths, especially in rock and roll, as a high priority, then someone in Kurt's circle, a lawyer, an agent.
Yeah, Bruce, they did. Kurt and Courtney's entertainment lawyer sided with the Grant, with Tom Grant, and they both agreed it was a murder. So that happened. And also, too, like you were saying before, like, not to interrupt you, Mr. Harrison, but earlier you were saying how she worked with the cops. And there's audio tapes, Bruce, with Courtney and Tom Grant talking about how she was working with the drug cops up there in Seattle, getting drug dealers. She was like an informant with the cops.
Oh, jeez.
It's all over the tapes. They were her drug dealers. She was turning in the other guys. She was turning in the wrong. Her mafia was taken over, and the other mafia got wiped out because Courtney was. It's right out of Hollywood, man.
But that's real common, though, Hank. That's really common for people in the drug world to turn, to rat out their enemies, man. It happens all the time, and their friends.
Sure, I agree. And the vast majority of upper middle class, smart people, educated people, they're not exposed to this kind of a skullduggery, and they think of it as maybe, I saw it on a video game. But that's about all they're ever going to hear about it. The truth is, that's the way life goes in the underground.
There's some things there's some things a fellow could say out loud, but he might bite his tongue because this is at the end of the day your daughter, and I don't want to say anything too caustic. But
everybody says that. Let me be the judge of that, okay?
Well, okay. She sounds like a fully functioning, high functioning sociopath.
That's exactly what she is. She's a psychopath. She's a narcissistic psychopath, full-functioning sociopath, and I didn't raise her that way, and I didn't make her that way. She got that way somehow in between the bad circumstances. I'll take my blame for what I did, but I'm not going to take the blame for what the other people did. And I can tell you right now, that is exactly spot on. Don't say you apologize for it, because the truth is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, generally the high intellect goes along with this, and not disparage all people of 140, but you either become really benign or really dark the higher your IQ is.
Exactly. And I haven't got the paperwork anymore, but I do have all the legal documents that I went through, and I can tell you right now, Linda has 154 WA weights. adult intelligence scale, 154, which is like 10% below the maximum IQ. And, however, I'm the one with a photographic memory, and that went over too. So you take an IQ like that, and you put it with somebody with and I really do have a photographic memory, not a bunch of bullshit. I can prove it to you. You know, it's called a semi-eidetic memory. It's not one of these ones where I can remember where I was 10 Thursdays ago, but I actually do see stuff, you know, and remember. So you add that name to a liar and a person who can remember who she told what to, and a person who can lie and visualize the name of the cop on the chest of the cop on a little bar. And so that when she's asked 10 years later, what was the cop's name that you told that story to, she will tell you, Officer R. She sees it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he remembers everyone told every person. She's stoned out. She used to get stoned to see how far out she can get without forgetting. You know, she never did really just ask me. I would have helped her with it because I studied.
Wait, let me ask you another question, Hank, okay, before I forget, okay? Because I find it very interesting, right, that Britney Spears, right, is sort of considered like a mind control kind of MKUltra victim, right? Are you familiar with that theory about Britney Spears?
No?
I
don't know. Actually, possibly. No. Okay, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, but there is that whole thing about her public breakdown and all that kind of stuff that went on with Britney Spears.
And Ed, Courtney brought it out about that. She said her father, Britney Spears, she goes, can you imagine being in control with your father who molested you, having, you know, full control over your money and custody? And it was Courtney that came to Britney's
defense?
Yeah, in that matter.
Well, now, Hank, are you familiar?
Yeah, I know that.
You heard that story too, Hank?
That part of the story I heard for sure, and it's probably true. Courtney also makes herself, inveigles herself into every conceivable scene she can.
Right.
So no matter where it is or what it is, she'll manage to show up. Like at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last week or last month. Here's Dave and Chris and several other people up there. And Courtney comes up on stage. I don't know how she even got in the building, but she was definitely not invited. She must have paid her way in, or she used Michael Stipe to get in or something. She shows up on the podium and starts blah, 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 because she just couldn't sit there long enough and let somebody else get the attention. That's where she's coming from.
But
she
Hank,
used to tell me.
Are you aware of...
You only want to talk to Kurt.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah, are you aware of management in common between Britney Spears and Courtney Love?
No.
Sam Lufty?
I never heard of that, but it's possible. I don't know.
Okay, because supposedly, currently, Sam Lufty is now managing Courtney Love.
That's possible, and I don't know anything about Hollywood, and when it comes to that stuff or the professional side, I'm just a writer,
I got you.
I get books published. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, questions?
Yeah, there was a lot of connections with Milos Forman, with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus, People versus Larry Flint, the whole, like you brought up, Woody Harrelson, and then she dated Edward Norton, who during that supposedly, I don't know, Hank, how strained the relationship was at that point when she was into all that.
No, I was in touch with her a little bit, and I actually contacted her when she was in rehab back in Pennsylvania, and I sent her a dozen roses. And the district attorney of Philadelphia gave me the whereabouts as a favor that he owed me, and so I sent her a dozen roses, red roses, and like I had done that also in juvenile hall. And the nurse, she wouldn't talk to me, but the nurse who got the roses said, she thanks you, and that was enough. But that was during, when Ed Norton was going with her, and he couldn't take any more either. And I was so proud of her. I said, oh, boy, she's going to pull out of her crap now because she's with Ed Norton, who I adore, and wonderful guy and great actor. And, man, to take on anti-Nazi roles, that's rough,
right.
And the boxing and all that stuff, boy, oh, boy, was he good. And still is. And I said to myself, boy, I got a new son-in-law. What do you know? And
yeah.
No, that didn't happen. Hello, that didn't happen. Dumbass. So, you know, she couldn't just pull herself out of rehab. She had to just get screwed up again, you know. It was very disappointing. And that was about the time we sort of all gave up on her in the family here. You know, we no, it ain't going to happen, you know. Still suspected all these years, one of these days she was going to OD. But, you know, she's, as you said, she's too much of a sociopathic narcissist to kill herself. It's always everybody else's fault. So you're never going to see her really be. She likes being self-destructive, I think, because she likes to ride the edge. The margin, you know.
Yeah, most people, they get bored and they want to make things more challenging by getting involved in the drugs and the alcohol.
Yeah, I don't get it. You know, she wants to see if she can still function and be screwed up at the same time. I don't know where that's coming from, man. I didn't teach her that.
The other thing I thought was that was just absolutely jaw-dropping was when, and this just came out recently, about the estate being worth about $500 million, and I was thinking to myself, good Lord, I was like, you know, Paul McCartney, and you know that's Beatle money. I mean, how did?
Hello.
Yeah.
You remember Rip Torn? Does anybody remember Rip Torn down in Las Vegas? He used to throw confetti on people.
Yeah.
I used to remember the day. He's a really great guy. He went around and said, hello.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you right now, that's what you just said is the thing. I've known all this time that it was worth $1 billion, and here's because I sat and watched Jerry Garcia's estate be established. And what they do is they have a formula, and they project it into the future as to future earnings. So the $1 billion you're quoting isn't like today. It's based on the algorithm of the royalties on tea, spirit, come as you are, et cetera, over subtracted by the royalties to Chris and Dave, multiplied by the number of months, the number of years projected in the future. I think they came up with a figure of 20 years or 30 years in proximal future earnings. And then they also take that into consideration. They take in foreign translation rights, foreign sales of the, and there's covers now. People, I was in a supermarket the other day shopping, and I hear Teen Spirit on Muzak in the store. I'm going, oh my God, no, this can't be. And so, sure. Every market, you got to figure South America, he's a really huge Nirvana's giant still. I get mail all the time from people in South America that love them, but Brazil, London, all the markets, any one market you get, Africa, Japan, and every time they play one of the songs in one of those markets, they get 25 cents.
Wow.
Hey, by the way, Hank, you meant Rip Taylor was the guy with the confetti. Rip Torn was the actor who got caught in the bank. Yeah, he got caught.
Oh, no. Oh, Rip Torn. No, Rip Taylor.
Yeah, Rip Taylor was the comedy guy. Rip Torn was the guy who got drunk, and he woke up inside of a bank, and he got arrested for breaking a bank.
Yeah. Rip Torn. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rip Torn fans.
So, Hank, what was Cobain like? How many times did you meet him? How well did you get to know him?
I met him twice. I met him on the phone. At first he was very, very cautious to talk to me because he'd been warned not to talk to me. Second time I talked to him on the phone for quite a long time, about 5 to 10 minutes, at his house, which Courtney never found out about. And it was all just a set up. Here's what the deal was going on at the time. It was a scam on my part, but it was also very sincere. My mother was getting old, and she wanted to see her great-granddaughter. She only had the one great-granddaughter, and that was Bean Cobain. So I wanted to set up a deal where I could get my mom up to Seattle to meet 10 minutes with Bean Cobain. And Courtney said when she was down at the in San Francisco at a gig, that when I went to see her, she said, yeah, okay, we'll set it up for Christmas. And I did, not knowing that later I found out the baby was with her at that club in the backyard in the park in the parking lot in the bus. And they wouldn't let me in there. So I figured, well, maybe she'll change her mind. She had a chance to go see my mom on the way north from that gig, and she never stopped there because my mom lives near Sacramento. It's really easy to get to from the highway. My mom could have gone out to a restaurant to see her, and none of that happened. So I got sort of discouraged, but I still wanted around Christmas time to maybe make an arrangement so that my mom could meet Francis. And Kurt was all in agreement with that and said, I'll tell you what, write us around Christmas time, because this was October. Write us around Christmas time and we'll see what we can set up. But I'm sure I'm happy to let your mom. She goes, I wasn't even going to be there. I was just going to set my mom up there with maybe one of the boys, by the way, who was a cop in Modesto, as a bodyguard, and go up there. And it turned out later that when Courtney did her album, she went to see that cop in Modesto, my brother Jeff. And that's how come the Modesto City Arch was on the album. And, anyway, make a long story short, never did get to see him. There was a fight over Christmas, a lot of arguments going on, a lot of discussion about when the tour would take place, who would be on tour, a lot of her ignoring him because she was too busy promoting Hole's, whatever the first one was. So much so, I never did get to see him. And on that, but I talked to him on the phone at Lane's. Thought he was a really great guy and a wonderful voice to talk to, and talking voice. And he seems to be a sincere guy.
So your granddaughter must be pretty much grown up now in her 20s, right?
She could make me a great grandfather.
Yes, her boyfriend. Yes, he looks a little bit similar to Kurt. He has a.
That's all right. That's okay, man. As long as look at the gene pool, dude. I win.
No, I mean it in the best possible sense.
I win, man. No matter what I do. I could screw up so bad now that people would come try to shoot me. I still win because of the gene pool.
Let me ask you a question, Hank. Now, the period of time when Courtney was living in Malibu and she did that Malibu album, okay, are you familiar with that time?
Was it Malibu Rehab or the Malibu? The house they rented in Malibu.
That when she was living in Malibu. Now, it seems that the whole city of Malibu did not like her and did not want her living there. And now, what was the story? Yeah, what's the story behind that?
I told you. Okay, are you guys in L.A. at all?
I go to L.A. Every now and then.
Okay, go out to Pacific Coast Highway, PCH.
Sure.
Go past Zuma Beach. Head for Malibu. In the middle of Malibu is a rundown little shopping center with a road to the right.
Sure.
And what does that road say on it? Topanga Canyon.
Oh, okay? So they knew her from her Topanga Canyon days.
Hello. She's got a reputation in Malibu since 1982 or one. 82. Hello. And they don't want her up there because she already knows where the skeletons are buried in the closets up on Topanga. See, everything is, every time somebody thinks of Malibu, everybody thinks of the coast, like,
the
TV show, 2.5 Men, like that scene there. Well, that's the Malibu on the coast. That's the easily accessible Malibu. But the Malibu I'm talking about is the John Lilly Malibu, the guy that took acid and lived inside a warm egg for 5 years or whatever. Psychologist wrote The Spirit of the Cyclone, Center of the Cyclone. Brilliant man. He lived in Malibu Canyon. And Peckinpah and those guys lived up there. And the Sheen brothers, believe it or not, they lived up there, right across the street from Peckinpah. So Courtney knew them.
Whoa. Sheen brothers, Charlie Sheen?
Sheen, the whole Sheen, Martin Sheen, all the Sheens, all of Drew Sheens, all the Sheens.
Courtney grew up with them?
Well, she didn't grow up with them. She hung out on Topanga Canyon with them.
Because she would be the same age as the Sheen brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, one or two of them, I'm in between somewhere, yeah. And Martin lived up there, right across from San Peckinpah. And that is where that whole connection got started. I don't know if she had anything to do directly with the Sheens, but she mentioned them on many occasions when she came to impress me with her celebrity friend list. So my dad's an idiot. My dad's a lowlife. He marries the Grateful Dead, big fucking deal.
Yeah.
But
what else was on her celebrity friend list? Give me the list.
The Sheens, the Peckinpahs, and blah, 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 Okay, her boyfriend, Man, is Jeff Mann, who I knew and love, by the way, is now like
probably the highest paid set designer in Hollywood. You know, he designed all Transformer movies.
Really?
Yeah, and you look on any of the list, his name is Jeff Mann, M-A-N-N. His mother is the dress designer for all of Peckinpah's, most of Peckinpah's movies and a lot of other ones, including Osterman Weekend and things like that. So she was really very good and very professional. She was right up there at the top, and so she was, every time she'd throw a party or somebody would throw a party up in that area, Courtney would get to go. And so, I don't know, she wasn't inviting me, I didn't get to go. So I'm assuming, she kept mentioning Richard Pryor, she got into Brewster's Millions, John Candy, so forth and so on, movies like that. She was in all these other movies because she was going to these afternoon soirees, etc., up on Topeka Canyon, not down on the beach, up in the canyon.
Gotcha. Hey, I'm going to add another caller. I have another caller. I'm going to come in with a question. Let me add him in here. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, you got a question for Hank Harrison?
Yeah, I sure do. I was detained there. I had to take care of the dog, but yeah, I was just curious. I've been hearing all these people talking about how Paul McCartney died and he's been replaced by somebody else years ago in the band. And I just have a very difficult time believing that there's two people with that much talent that happen to play left-handed bass on the piano. I just was curious if you had any take on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
let's get out beyond it. Let's get into the probability realm and get out of the bizarre. You don't want to do some math. Anybody that wants to do some calculations, let me know. I've got the formulas. All you're going to do is figure it out. And 100 to 1, 200 to 1, that's pretty reasonable. 25 million to 1, no, I don't bet on it.
So you're in agreement with me that it ain't going to happen, right?
Ain't going to happen, brother.
Yeah, the man has so much. The man has so much talent that I just thought to myself, that man has so much talent, and I've watched him throughout the years. I played in bands, and I thought, I never seen it happen. That's the same man that I seen years ago.
Yeah, and another thing that you have to understand is that that's Sir Paulie. You know?
Yeah.
And that's Sir Paul. Paulie. And, you know, my wife loves him. And the very thought that McCartney would be some kind of a doppelganger is just too wacky. You know, the other thing is a lot of those theories are circulated to dilute and make ugly and make invalid some of the more valid stuff. It's easy to disguise. It's camouflage to disguise stuff about Courtney and Kurt, for example, which I am trying to keep away from the conspiratorial idiom and trying to keep it into a more like you can research it yourself viewpoint. You know, so the way I wrote the book was I didn't use footnotes because the software I used didn't allow me to. I had to choose between pictures and footnotes. But I do put a lot of references in the back of the book, like a bibliography, and you can go read these references, and I'll tell you right now, they're there. Some of the stuff from where I got my information and who I got it from and that kind of stuff. It's like almost like a PhD thesis with pictures, so easy to read.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the interview tonight. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you this, Hank. Now you shared with us some stuff about Cunanan and Versace. Do you have any other stories like that along those lines, like stuff we haven't heard before?
I don't know what you haven't heard. I thought you heard everything. I saw the website. You look like you heard everything by now.
Yeah, I work on everything, yeah. Well, that's why I heard everything because I talked to guys like you. What do you got?
Art Bell was really an alien.
Ah, come on.
And I was actually at Versace's house the day after, and I have pictures of the fresh blood stains on the footsteps walking up to his house. They were there for a long time.
Yeah, the terrazzo.
Yeah, that was he had just gone out to breakfast, and he had the only house on the strip down there in South Beach, and it's huge. It's got to be like 100 rooms, and there's like a telescope, you know, that looks out to the roof, and I mean it's just unbelievable, massive. And Cunanan was on a mission to get him and I think 2 other guys, and then he holed up in a boat, and I believe that's where the cops surrounded him, and then he either
houseboat.
Yeah.
But I think I think Courtney's connection isn't directly with Florida, but with the San Francisco connection when they linked up originally. And then later on, Courtney went down and used some kind of magical spell to get Versace to give her shoes. Well, I know what it was. She was having an affair with Versace's sister. That was one of the things that was going on. So she went down there and she hit up Versace. Maybe she asked her sister, "Do you get the old used ones, the old used frocks that were in the closet, the ones that were 10 years old, the ones that nobody wanted, the real Versace stuff, the stuff that's really valuable to collectors?" And she said, "Can I have a couple of them?" And Versace said, "Sure, I'm going to be out to coffee, but just go on over there. The butler will let you in and go in and help yourself." She pulled a van up to the back of the house and filled it.
So, Hank, you said magical
My
spells.
girl.
Do you think Courtney was ever involved in any kind of dabbling in any kind of magic or witchcraft or anything?
Black magic, yeah. I think she actually did dabble in some of candles. She almost burned our house down with candles. She was emulating Madonna at the time with lace, and she was hanging. We had a 107-year-old at that time Victorian, Redwood Victorian in Menlo Park, which is now Google land and Facebook land.
Right.
And she had these drapes, and she had all these candles. And I swear to God, she fell asleep. She nodded out. We smelled it here. They hadn't caught on fire yet, but they were about to. And she has a tendency to light things on fire. And there's been several cases where things caught on fire where she was around, including she burned down. She was working with, again, a friend of Frenchie Marson's, Francis, is named after her probably, I don't know. This Marson chick, she had connections, and one of the things was to get Courtney Jeffs working 24 hours, 24/7 rather, on the late night hotline, the 900 call-in lines. The guys would call in and talk to girls,
Yeah.
And she would do that, and then she got pissed one night, and she did it on purpose or not, I don't know, but the place burned down.
Really?
And then there was a couple of other fires. I forget exactly. I'll remember. It's in the book where she appeared, and we can't prove it. She actually set the fire. But one of her ex-lovers was a rock star named Ross. What was his name? The guy, Nation of Sheep. This guy, he broke her heart and sent her a Dear John letter, and she hated him so much. Oh yeah, back in New York, there's a book called Bong Water. Anybody gets a chance to get the book, Bongwater. There's a lot in there, Bong Water, but it's fictionalized. And that guy was even so afraid of her that he wrote a caveat in the beginning to don't blame him. There's no real people in this book, and then proceeded to relate directly to some of the stuff Courtney did. And there was a couple fires in New York City back in the day. So, there's some bad behavior going on there,
I sure wouldn't want to be on her bad side, I can tell you that. It seems like she made sounds. Did she date Trent Reznor as well as Billy Corgan and had involvements with Michael Stipe?
Yeah. I think Michael's gay, but yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what I said.
Sure. He hated Trent Reznor. He hated Trent Reznor. Reznor took one look at her and said, what am I doing here? And then he started jiving on her and putting stuff on her and stuff, and she didn't like it. So she started saying bad things about Trent Reznor, who went on to win an Academy Award, which I think is in a weird way. And so, Michael, she always says that she was a really good friend of Michael's and he would never let her down. And I'm not 100% sure that's true, but I can't prove it.
but take a look at some of the pictures that came out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and try to read the expressions on the faces if you can. Not only Reznor, but who you mentioned?
Billy Corgan.
Billy. I don't know a thing about Billy. Billy and her have been going together for a long, long time. When Kurt first played in Chicago, she was staying at Billy's house. And she got in on a taxi and decided she'd dump Billy and went down and started hitting on Kurt at the club because Kurt was playing was a person who is fabulously talented woman named Mary Lou Lord. And Mary Lou Lord, to this day, you check her out on the website, is just fabulous. She was a street busker at the time, but she would play clubs occasionally, and Kurt fell in love with her, man. And I heard that from other people, but I'm pretty sure it's true. And Courtney just wasn't going to have any of it because that was another rock star, good-looking chick who was going to take Courtney's boyfriend away from her, and there went the money, and there went the whole payday if she didn't get in the taxi cab right that night and go down to that club. And she did. And then that's famous. You can read it in several, Come As You Are, the book Come As You Are, and several other, what happened at that club that night.
Wow.
So
it seems like there was a lot of motive and not a lot of compelling evidence that Kurt would, having a new daughter, there was not a lot of reasons. I know that he was in treatment or something, and it just seemed like there was a lot of money, and he was supposedly going to change his will. Correct me wherever I'm...
Oh, no, he did. No, he changed the will. He changed the will. He gave the woman... Kurt said, if there's anything Kurt did that was stupid, it was keep the same lawyer because the money train arrived through David Geffen. The money train arrived through Gold Mountain Management, and through those people. Look it up. It's on the internet. And Rosemary was married to Jim Carroll, who was a junkie. And Jim Carroll's a famous poet who wrote Basketball Diaries.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of connections there to Jim and Rosemary. Rosemary had divorced Jim and was now going with the guy who was the head of Gold Mountain. So when Kurt came in to her and said, draw up the divorce papers, I'm cutting her out of my will, she said, okay. And they had an hour-long session. He wrote down on his paper, and he gave her the paper, all written out in his handwriting and signed. And she put it in the back of her drawer and went out and told Courtney about it, thus setting the trigger, Courtney realizing Kurt wants a divorce, Kurt's serious about the divorce, and Kurt's going to cut me out of the will. So there was ever any time to plot a strategy, now is the time. Because Kurt wasn't kidding. He wanted out then because he found out that she had, that October, gone out to West Hollywood and solicited a guy named El Duce, who was the head of the Mentors. And El Duce was standing on the sidewalk one day, and she jumps out of the limo and says, "Hey, Duce, I want you to blow my old man's head off." Right there, that's a crime if you mean it, and if it can be proven that you mean it, that's a felony. El Duce was a drunk, and nobody believed him until after a while, Tom Grant and those people started saying, hey, Duce's a pain in the ass, but he's telling the truth. Let's clean him up and get him a couple of lie detector tests. Sure enough, he passed. 2 weeks later, a month later, he's under the tree, deader than a doornail. No more possible charges can be brought because the witness, the grand jury or the feds, because it was solicitation, interstate murder, homicide across state lines. So it had to be federal. She could have done 30 years for that or 10 years for that, That wasn't going to happen. El Duce died.
Okay, Hank, besides El Duce, were there any other mysterious deaths around this?
Lots of them, man. I didn't know. I wasn't ready for that question because that's going to require a little bit of list because I'm not in on all of them. But there's several people that are hanging out that know stuff. Yeah, there's a couple of other things about who was in the basement when Kurt was killed and who was over at the house when Kurt was killed.
And you got to read the book, man. It's free. I'm giving the book away. So for God's sake, get the book if you have these kind of questions, because I can't explain it on the radio because I have all the detailed footnotes, and so you can get out, and I got pictures to prove it.
So what email can people contact you at to get the book?
The best way to get a hold of me is to write me at Zendog, ZENDOGG, at gmail.com. And if you write me a nice, when we start recording with you, I don't mind writing letters to people at all. And if they're short, perhaps we can get anything going. If you think that you need to know more information in more specific detail, I can take the time and I will work with each person individually. I'm here for 1,000.
Right, and a website called HankHarrison.com, which has all.
That's one. Yeah, that's one. And then there's another one called Archives, ARKIV as in Victor ES.com, archives.com. And then my wife's website, by the way, if you want to have fun, Epona Farm, EPONAFARMS.com. And we raise ponies and horses and rescue horses to put them back into rehab and get them out so people can ride them again and that kind of stuff. We do that. And then as far as just Google me and Hank Harrison on Google, and all that stuff will probably come up too. And then another way is to just write me. And if you want to talk on the phone, we can set up an appointment. If you're smart enough and you really got the right questions, I got the right answers. I just need somebody to not, I don't want anybody to ridicule me. I mean, I want somebody, I only preach to the already convinced. I only preach to the choir.
Well, let me ask you a question, Hank. I asked you a lot of questions today. Is there any questions that you'd like me to ask you or you wish I had asked?
Well, no, I mean, you covered my background, so all I'm trying to do is make it so that the people realize that my motivations for putting this book out were not to Courtney's fans, but to the millions and millions of people who were hurt emotionally, and even hurt themselves when Kurt died. Tom Grant says there were a couple of dozen suicides. I think there were a couple of thousand in the long run. It takes a while to seep in. People got discouraged. There were people who thought that Kurt was the bright light of the future, and Nirvana was going to be the great harbinger of great news, good news for people, because he never said anything really negative. He was so kind of a radical. He said stuff like a rock in a cop's face is joy is a rock in a cop's face, and stuff like mean people come back as flies because they have to live on poop. He said stuff like that, and I loved him for it, And if you want to talk about that or write me, don't hesitate to write. I'll be happy to respond back. I might not be able to get back to you the same day, but I'm 74 now, and I don't have much to do, so I sit around and write books.
Well, there's two things, if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead, yeah.
One was I work with addicts, and I have for the last going on almost 20 years. And the thing is that especially with heroin addicts, they don't normally die of overdoses as often as you'd think. Another thing with them also is someone that I knew that was very depressed and let's say even to the point of suicidal, and they went and they did some dope, took a shot, whatever, however they did it. It would definitely change their mood, and it would maybe even shake them out of the depression. And I know that sounds weird.
No, I agree with you.
I agree too.
And the other thing, go ahead.
Cobain's personality was not suicidal, nor was it a real junkie. He wasn't really a junkie. He diddled around with it, but I don't think he was that much of a junkie. I think he was always warning people about drinking and taking dope at the same time. And I think it was somebody gave him a shot of fentanyl and fixed him up real good.
Right. The other thing was, too, everyone that knew him said that he was very, he was very pragmatic. He was very thrifty with money. Like he had a pair of shoes that he lost at a show, and the next day he showed up with in his bare feet, and they said, "Kurt, where are your shoes?" And he was like, "I lost them at the show last night." And they said, "You're a millionaire. Why don't you go buy a new pair?" And the other thing was he went with his friend to go fill a prescription, and it was $30. And he was like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. How expensive it was." And they were like, "Kurt, you're a millionaire." The other thing was he drove a Volvo because it was the safest car. He always wore a seatbelt.
He cared about the baby.
he cared about the baby. And it was a beat up old Volvo too. It wasn't a brand new shiny Volvo.
Right.
And the other thing you just brought up, which I think is really exciting, is that in the opening of my book, I say Kurt Cobain was a radical, and one of the things he did was burn money. He didn't burn money like drug dealers throw money in the fireplace. He just went out there and was arguing against having a lot of money and striving for a lot of money in this culture. And his songs show it, and his lectures show it, and the way he came out with his images and the way he talked was all about, hey, forget money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as far, and when he tried to negotiate contracts with David Geffen, don't forget, when he died, he had been free of the Geffen contract, and he didn't want to go back with DGC. So you got to think that through. The millions of dollars he just turned down. And it was also something that Tom Grant told me that I didn't know. I just researched it later and found out it was true, was that Courtney wanted him to get into the Lollapalooza because it was $900,000 or $1.5 million or something like that. And he didn't want to do it. It turned out later that the real reason he didn't want to do it is because they were recruiting Marines and Navy and stuff and selling Pepsi Cola he didn't like or whatever at these shows and commercializing it. It was crass, and it wasn't like what he wanted it to be, which was the old radical days, sort of like, you know, Altamont or something. You know?
Right. And the rift that they had with Guns N' Roses, because when Axl Rose saw that Nirvana was, you know, becoming as popular as they were, he thought that they were kind of misogynistic, how they'd hold the camera on, you know, the women in the audience until they'd take their tops off, and he saw them as kind of like, you know, everything that he's into.
You know, one thing about the money I just want to point out is that Courtney said that Kurt had no access to money. Okay, when he was escaped escaped the rehab, you know, and he's floating around there. She says he has because she hired Tom Grant when he left the rehab to find him the first time. So she said he has no friends, he has no access to money, yet he did have a credit card, and that credit card was being used during the period of time when Kurt Cobain was dead. Did you guys know that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I knew that.
Go ahead.
I know who did it. I know who was on the card. I know who used it. I know where he got it. The guy who was using the card was supposed to be Kurt's bodyguard.
Really?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Book, folks, it's in the book. It's all in the book.
Is that a guy named Callie?
Callie and Callie's buddy.
Okay.
Callie and Callie's buddy, both of them.
Hank, have you ever had a chance to talk to Dave Grohl or any other members of the band and express your views and get their views?
Kurt, Chris Novoselic, very indirectly after the first thing happened, Chris went out when he found out how frustrated the whole thing was, to a firing canyon that they had out in the firing place, gun
range.
What do you call it?
Gun range.
Gun range. They built themselves out some sidewall somewhere. They did an album later on about it, and I never got a chance to talk to him directly, but there was a song in there, and I got it directly that the song lyrics were talking to what I knew and he knew, and that was encouraging for me because I was getting discouraged because everybody was talking about the suicide, and I mean until. Well, actually, and I got to put a plug in for this little guy because he was such a cool guy. Crazy is a $3 bill, but there's a guy up in Seattle that has the very first guy that had anything to say about Courtney, and he called her a black widow. And he subsequently I've been in touch with the guy. Turned out he's a pretty good journalist, and he's the one that started spreading the word. And I felt like at least somebody was same wavelength. And then Tom Grant came along, and although Tom was never pro Hank Harrison, I went down to L.A., I talked to him, they did a polygraph on me, they did a voice stress analysis on me, blew their mind because I was telling the truth. They don't know that, I know, but I know. And later on, years later, my polygraph guy said he knew about it. So Tom, I went down there. I said, take what you need because I know you don't like me, you don't like my politics, but I'm telling you right now, an assassination makes strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
You know. And so, Tom, if you're out there, listen to me, man. I'm telling you, I got nothing bad to say about the effort you put in to solve this crime. If it's not the crime of the it's the crime of the 20th century. If it hadn't been for the Kennedy assassination, it would have definitely been the crime of the 20th century. It'd be like shooting Bob Dylan, man. You know, I mean, I don't like the Bob Dylan band. I don't like, you know.
Hank, I got two questions for you. First of all, the names of the polygraph examiners that you use and the name that Tom Grant's used?
I don't know Tom Grant's guys, but my polygraph examiner told me that he heard about it through the polygraph convention in Detroit that he had gone to.
Okay.
And one of the topics of the thing I didn't know about it. I can give you that, and if you want to go to the website, you have to go to hankharrison.com, and you press on to the right, there's a little label there that says polygraph, and push on that, read that information, and then write me a letter, and I'll give you all the details.
Okay.
I just don't want that. I don't want anybody out there harassing this wonderful man who gave me a really nice polygraph, a free. He charged me, but it was objective. And when I walked out of there, I felt like I had just come out of a papal confession.
I got you.
You know.
Let me ask you another question. Tom Grant. Now, Tom Grant put a lot of time into this. Now who was funding Tom Grant in his investigation after he left the employ of Courtney Love? He worked on this a long time, yeah. Now, how was he funding that?
Tom, I answer that in a couple of ways. And I don't want to misrepresent anything because I've been accused of misrepresenting stuff about Tom before. It's not true. But I will tell you, Tom was a bodyguard for Paula Jones during the Clinton impeachment stuff, you know.
Oh, really?
And all that stuff that was going on. They were trying to get rid of the Clintons back in the day. Okay, that was all Tom Grant was the bodyguard. Tom also tracked down a couple bank robbers on a couple of occasions, and I think he might have got a government reward for that. But he works as an everyday private detective. He has all kinds of jobs, and nobody knows exactly what his jobs are because they're private. But he's a terrific private detective. He's an ex-Malibu police officer, which is ironic, sheriff. And, he's a tough guy. He's like trying to hit him would be like trying to hit a bulletin board from a mile away with a small ping pong ball. This guy is elusive. You know, he has all kinds of connections all over the place. Most of them are, I would think, on the right side of the political spectrum, but I don't hate him as much as he hates me, as far as my political beliefs are. So I wrote the book, the Cobain book, from a radical viewpoint. The book is radical, and if you don't like that, you want to, talk right-wing politics, you're not going to get it in my book. By the way, that's in terms of the truth. I mean, Tom Grant's a good guy. I knew a couple of some information about what Tom did to make money, and all of it's legitimate. He did, I think, have an arrangement of some kind with the two Canadian writers who wrote the Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain book. You know, they wrote two of them. They brought it out again under another name, same book, made a few changes to it and brought it out again. So that, I think Tom, because there's lots of pictures of Tom and them plugging the book on tour.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I also think that Tom was able to get money from people because he does do consulting work. So, he's doing okay.
And didn't he also push about the suicide note? Because they even made a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, one of his first movies, where they go to when Courtney's reading the letter. And, that alone, I know she's a great actress and everything. That was such a surreal moment of her reading that letter and part of it possibly not matching the top and the way that it was worded and, her crying while she's reading it.
She was reading from her own script. She had written about the letter
First of all, she forged, in my opinion, I mean, there's some evidence that she had some, Tom came up with one of her backpacks, and in her backpack there was a pad in there with scribbles on it that were putting her lettering down on one side and then Kurt's down on the other side. You can see that she was trying to forge Kurt's handwriting long before he died so she could sign contracts. There were people that wanted interviews with Kurt Cobain that would go with Courtney Love, but she'd sign the contracts and say it was good or not. So there was times when she was forging Kurt's signature long before he died, years before he died.
Well, also too, according to Tom Grant, he had looked underneath that pillow, and there was no letter, there was no suicide note under that pillow. And then later on, and they found another suicide note on the staircase. And according to tape recordings of Courtney Love and Tom Grant, Courtney Love claims that one of the police detectives told her to burn that letter, and she burned the letter.
True.
Yeah.
But there was still a lot of stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter too much because there was enough evidence floating around for people with an open mind to see that there were several letters that were, the whole thing was a botched job. It was an amateur operation. I can't believe it. If it had been a real conspiracy, we wouldn't be talking about it right now.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, because the pros would have got away with it, really slick, It's just a bunch of kookamini, just amateur shit. And it was forced and rushed to the last minute. They had to do something because he was going into town and he was going to file the papers for the divorce. Once the papers were filed, once the will was changed, she would be cut out to something like $30,000 a year. Now, when she's crazy because she insisted on what's that clause?
Prenup.
Palimony clause. What do you call it?
A prenup.
Prenup clause. She had a prenup clause, and he wanted her to have it. And she said, "Yeah, I want it." So now the prenup clause is going to come back in the ass. So Kurt had rid of it before because once filed those once he got it, that is translated would have been legal into legal documents and legal filings. And during that 3-day period, that all disappeared, and that was partly because Rosemary Carroll conveniently lost this on the back of her drawer. And that's another thing that Tom Grant brought out. Tom talked to her, and she was pretty much. Tom said she was trembling in her boots at the time. So there was something going on, and everybody was scared as hell before Kurt died. And then there was the other day who had succeeded in October of the year before, and Kurt knew about it, and somebody probably came out. I'm saying probably looks because it fits the time frame. Came out to the rehab and told him that people are looking for him even then. So he ran away and got on the airplane.
Now, what was that story?
Anyway,
you were telling a story about how she had a plane idling on a airstrip.
Several times. One of the things that she could do, if she wanted to, was call a gravity coordinator and get a private plane started up for her at the airport. And sometimes she'd be 2 hours late, so they'd have to refuel the thing. You're sitting on the prop planes, jets, all kinds of stuff. And they didn't take much of a faster plane to get to Seattle. It takes 3.5 hours to get to Seattle, man. And 3.5, so that's all you got to do is account for 7 or 8 hours, adding the taxi time and stuff, and it's pretty easy to disappear for 8 hours, and nobody suspects it, because the airfield she went to wasn't the main airfield in Seattle. It was the Boeing executive.
Gotcha. Now also.
Okay, and so that was one of the planes that we couldn't track down because they didn't keep records of it after a year. We tried to get to it, and they couldn't find the records.
Are you saying also that she had the ability to get on commercial flights without showing ID and without making a reservation as well?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I hope not.
No, there are people that can do that.
I don't know. I hope not.
Okay.
I hope they're not carrying bombs or anything.
Okay. All right, and
also, one more thing about the airplane.
Yeah.
When she was in London with Billy Corgan and the baby, she decided to go over to Spain. Kurt wanted her to fly to Rome to see him. She said, "No, I'm with Billy. I'm going to go to Spain."
and follow Billy's tour. She's an ultimate groupie at that point. Now, Billy took her back a couple of times. Now, Billy is also another gifted genius, and I thought he'd like him. He, one of these guys that tolerated her bullshit more than Kurt did. So she leaves this plane in London, idling or waiting on the tarmac, while she's messing around in Spain, going out to show Billy in an ambulance. No, not an ambulance. Another thing. I'm sorry. Two stories with the waiting to show Billy this location where she made Straight to Hell, the movie in the desert. So she made that movie. And they went out there and with the baby, looked at that, and then came back. She wanted to go to Spain with Billy and stood the title of that for at least 2 days in London with the airplane. And then she finally changed her mind, decided she'd recast the airplane and fly to Rome. She went to see Kurt because Kurt was screaming up bloody murder. And then right after that, it was just, I think I tried to kill myself on champagne and Rocanol. Yeah,
because there was an alleged suicide attempt in Rome as well.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
It was more accidental. The pills were different milligrams, and it was listed as a
Well, she thought maybe she'd kill him. I don't know. She didn't give him enough dosage. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
They're
very mysterious.
Sure that he was suicidal.
They tried to create. Yeah, there was a woman. Her publicist was with her, and the Golden Mountain was pumping out all this. He was suicidal stuff, but he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
He was not suicidal.
And he was
had a sort of nervous breakdown.
That had he was all there, he's very intelligent, and his artwork was just unbelievable. I mean, he was just so talented, and to think that that's what he would sit down and leave his daughter to see, that's the planning. That's the amount of planning that he would, if he was really going to carry that out and kill himself, that would be the way that he would do it. A sloppy note like that with a spike next to him and shock on his mouth. I mean, it's just, it's preposterous, really. It's so I don't buy it at all.
You want to know the word? It's evil. It's lies spelled backwards. Hey, I'm not a Christian, but it's evil. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's something that the Da Vinci's, the Medicis would have pulled in the 14th century. That's how complicated it is.
So, Hank, do you mind if we talk about some of the? I was looking at your website. It's Bruce, and I'm interested in what you've written about Celtic culture, and given your kind of interest and specialization in ancient structures, do you know anything about Stonehenge?
I do. Let me say before I say anything. You ever heard of a guy named Neil Cassidy? It was Jack Kerouac's friend. He wrote a lot of books about him, and then
I'm a published novelist. I lived on the beats 20 years ago when I was in my 20s. Charles Olson, all the poets, the Black Mountain poets, all of them.
Yeah. Neil was later on became part of the Grateful Dead, and Neil went on the road and took the Kesey bus around. He was driving the Kesey bus. He was the only sane guy, right? So here, before I say anything about the Celtic culture, I'm going to tell you this little story.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you after that. Okay.
No, real short. They were down in Texas, and there's all these freaks on acid, and they're all hanging out the back of the bus and on top. That's all. And then highway patrolman comes up, and he can't believe his eyes or ears. And he's a Texas Ranger, actually, I think. And he goes up to Neil. He pulls the bus over. Neil pulls out the window, and the guy knocks on the window, and Neil slides it back and says, "Can I see your license?" And Neil says, "Thank God, somebody I could talk to." And anyway, that when somebody asks me a question in the midst of the Courtney Love thing, when somebody asks me a question about the Celtic culture and the pre-Celtic and the Ice Age stuff, and I say, thank God, somebody I can talk to. So the answer is,
Gotcha, yeah.
Now you get it. Okay. Now
Yeah,
you
real
get
quick though, man. Hey, did you know Michael Moran from? He was with those guys with the electric Kool-Aid acid test.
I've heard of him. I don't know him personally.
Okay, I knew him. I was friends with Michael Moran, and he was a big fan of Ram Dass, you know. And I also met a bunch of times. I met Allen Ginsberg. He used to come down to Yippie headquarters all the time.
I loved Alan. Alan's who wouldn't love Alan? You know.
Well, I didn't like him. To tell you the truth.
Oh, come on. You know, it's like saying you don't like Robert Frost. Because he was drunk.
No,
because
he was a pedophile, man. But he was also kind of.
Oh yeah, that's true. He was.
Yeah.
He was.
He was a creepy guy too.
That.
Yeah, but anyway, so get back
to
what.
Robert Frost.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Abraham Lincoln.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
Don't know.
What?
Making it up.
Ginsberg was openly a pedophile.
Yeah, I know that. I knew that. But that doesn't kill off his poetry.
But Hank, can you touch on Ken Kesey? Because I love One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's required reading in school. And
that's so funny. That blows my mind completely, man. Yeah, I know that. I heard that before. That's required reading. That's, made Kesey roll in his grave. I bet you he's just laughing his ass off.
Me too. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he just was, him and Jerry, there's a video of the two of them when they got back together on some talk show, and I think they're both on LSD at the time because they're laughing and having a ball, but they might not be, I'm guessing, but I mean, they must have been larger than life personalities. And
but see, you got to understand is everybody down there, if you read my Grateful Dead book, the first book called The Dead, Volume 1, which is available through any number of sources, Amazon and so forth.
It's on the Operative Report blog.
Yeah, you can get it. You can get it. I'll send you, if you can't find it, I'll send you a signed copy. I got them right here. I published them myself too. So anyway, make a long story short, one of the things that Kesey and I used to do is stand there between backstage in the show and do the punch in the shoulder, seeing who could punch the hardest.
Yeah.
I lost.
Well, Kesey has refused. It's written in the book of how big his muscles were. That's like what's mentioned about is how he pushed the butts out of the mud in one of the chapters. I mean, it's always referred.
I'm sure that's probably true.
Yeah.
But he made everybody get off before he tried.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't full when he pushed it.
Doesn't count then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give him too much credit. He was a miracle worker as it was, and I knew Mountain Girl. He married Mountain Girl, and Garcia raised a baby, and now the baby's in the band. It all goes on and on. But Kesey was just a terrific guy, hilariously funny, really canny. He had his sidekick named Babs that I didn't like too much, but that's all right. Because he had Wavy Gravy came out of that deal, and
I knew Wavy Gravy as well, man. I met Wavy Gravy a bunch of times.
Wavy's genius, and he's still going, so that's good news. He helps kids, and that's good, So we did some good. I'm glad we did some good back in the day,
Oh,
yeah.
But one of the things that I got criticized for, especially in Book 2, the Dead Book Volume 2, was the tone changed. My writing style improved and changed into a really strict nonfiction, almost medieval science kind of book. And I'll get back to Celtic in a minute, but I wanted to say that my style changed. And so because of that, I got a lot more readers. But the locals, the ones that worshiped Garcia, the ones that shot up heroin because they saw Jerry doing it, were people that were saying, how dare you write on a parallel view with our God? This is Jerry Garcia. You have to worship him. You can't write on an equal footing with Jerry. How dare you criticize him for being a junkie? Fuck you, man, you're a junkie. In my mind, coming up from the streets, if you were a junkie or an alcoholic, you didn't count anymore. You sold out. That was your franchise. You blew it. And people are out there worshiping heroin. You thanks? Come on, man. Pedophiles like Ginsberg, Come on, man. I'm left wing, but I'm not that far to the left where I'm going to let people go to hell in a handbasket because they happen to have charisma on stage. They happen to be very good musicians, you know? So you're right about Ginsberg, too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I do like it. I like this. But anyway, getting back to the Celtic culture stuff, I was on the search for my own roots, of course, at first. I started to get involved with the Stones and the megaliths, you know, in general. Not just Stonehenge, but all the megaliths all over the place. Brittany and all through France, all through Germany, Ireland, big time in Ireland, Scotland, big time in Scotland, you know, and down in Cornwall and other places. And this is before I ran across Glastonbury. And there was also a woman who had written a book called The Glastonbury Zodiac, where she claimed that there's 12 zodiac signs laid out on the land that align with the stars near Glastonbury. And that was too bizarre. Phyllis and I used to read that stuff all the time. We used to go down to the Mystic Bookstore in San Antonio and order books. Make a long story short, I finally got a little bit of money together. My dad died, my books out. And I decided I was going to go over there and check this stuff out. And I went to Woodhenge, Stonehenge, and several other places, and Albury first, and was very impressed with that. Then I went up to the north to Scotland and found several. And then I went to Ireland, and Ireland blew my mind completely because there's a mound over in Ireland called Newgrange, and the light beam comes in on December 21st and illuminates the interior of this mound, which is surrounded by quartz, and it shows on the walls these rainbow prisms when the light beam comes in, and it's freaking amazing, man. And the thing is, if it was done a couple of years ago, I'd say, yeah, well, that's pretty heavy, but this thing is about 5,000 years old. So these guys, to make a long story short, the builders of the mounds may have been heliocentric. They may have known, I can't prove it yet, but I'm working on it, the sun was at the center of the solar system a long time before Jesus came along. And, of course, the Catholic Church pressed it until Galileo, so forth. So they only apologized for the repressing heliocentrism about 1995, I think it was. So, yeah, I got really turned on to that stuff. It's a mind-changing. Stop taking drugs, not because anybody rehabilitated me, because this was cooler than that. You know? So, Anybody there?
Yeah, we're here, yeah.
So Glastonbury then became focused because there's so much literature, and I can say it, before the Internet. When the Internet struck hard about 3 or 4 years ago, and we really opened up the high-speed Internet, then we started getting stuff that guys were hiding because in their thesis, they were writing their PhD theses 100 years ago, and they were cresting on it, like surfing on it all these years, and suddenly you see stuff that just wasn't right. And it's all on the Internet now, and it's all footnotable, and anybody can go and check it out. And I can tell you right now, there's a whole new revolution in research and philosophy and a whole new change around towards the Celts, the Druids, and the medieval, and those the various monks, Christian monks who carried through the Druidic mental states onto even up into the Middle Ages and 12th century, 13th century, and that's in the book too. So if you want to see one of those books, you have to go to the other website, but write me about them and I'll give you a link to those too.
So you wrote some books about the Holy Grail as well? I
did, yeah. I wrote three books on the Grail. One of them is called Cauldron of the Grail, which is what I just told you. It's kind of a premier book, a primer book that gets you started on it. And there's another book called Arthur the God, which I wrote with Karen Hahn, which is really how Arthur was really a propaganda thing over the ages. And that's pretty controversial, but it's well written, and it's finished, and you can see that. I'll send you a copy of that. Or the new one, I'm just finishing it up now, but I can get it to you, is called Crown of Stars, which is about the Bishop of Winchester, who was was the younger brother of King Stephen of England, who was probably the most intelligent, richest man in England at the time, around 12th century, which would be 1126 to 1170. Just before Henry II came to power and did everything he could to wipe the guy out, he built 125 buildings, churches, whole villages. It's all documented now. So you get a kick out of that too. Plus, he was the first guy to write the book on the Holy Grail called The High History of the Holy Grail, and he wrote it under anonymous. But I'm pretty sure I can prove, if you read it, you'll maybe disagree, but I'm pretty sure I can prove that it was him.
Hank,
That's it, folks.
You're out?
Go ahead. I'm here.
Oh.
I'm here.
What are the big changes you see being directly exposed to the music for several decades? You know, how do you see the industry evolving through the 70s, 80s, 90s?
Well, the indie movement was definitely seminal to the change that scared the living shit out of guys like Geffen. And, you know, you could always, if you didn't want to sign your contract with David, you could just go down the street and hire a waxworks and do your own thing, man. The technology was there. You could sell your own DVDs. And then, right at the same time, the DVDs, the CDs were brought out, people were just sending thumb drives and downloading MP3s. So the technology was moving ahead so damn fast and so much more precisely that the old guys, the old billionaire guys that thought they knew everything, were getting their asses kicked. Right? We got agree on that? So there you go, another motive in the Cobain case.
Yeah.
He wanted to be indie, and he wanted to stay indie for a while, and he wanted to see if he could try out a little indie roots. There's a couple of guys that gave him a lot of support for that, including the guys that were helping him with that record, Teen Spirit sessions. And I won't get into that. That's in the book again. Whole description of my book on Cobain is more an analysis of the social matrix that surrounded Kurt, the influences that he encountered and stuff. It's not really a historical, horological, or straight line rap. It's more like a little bit about this guy, and a little bit about this woman, and a little bit about this, and then the girlfriend that came into it, and then the betrayal came into it, and those, you know. So you like the book. It's just not written in the traditional style. And for those of you who can't read and write, there's a lot of pictures.
Okay, so you got any quick last questions for Hank, and then we'll wrap this up?
I'm good.
I just want to thank Hank for being so candid, and so glad that he got to tell his side of the story, because if you just saw the documentary, you know, it doesn't even scratch the surface of his life. And if you were gonna, I don't think you could create a character.
Right.
You were gonna say who was Courtney Love's father, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. What a character, you know, and what a life. Just so much stuff that you could ask, and we didn't want to take it in the conspiracy sort of route, and I'm glad you stuck to the sort of nuts and bolts and just the facts, and, you know, we gleaned a lot from hearing, you know, just the
yeah, and I worked on the book for 20 years, so, you know, I had a chance to change it several times, and the original name was Beyond Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, Beyond Nirvana. Courtney's threatened to sue me on that because she owns the name Nirvana, apparently, and it certainly owns the name Kurt Cobain, so she was going to sue me. So I changed it to Love Kills, which is a better title anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she can't control the name Love.
Love Kills.
Or yeah, the Love or Kills. You're right. Yeah.
So there you go.
So real quick, I just want to thank our sponsors, Columbia Paranormal. You can find them on Facebook at Columbia Paranormal. Their phone number is 573-489-5337, and they're professional investigators. They investigate paranormal activity. All investigations are free, always free of charge, and you can reach them at their email address, hjkrol59@yahoo.com. Our oldest sponsor, Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126. Dem Roots at operamail.com. Pacific West Bamboo, #1 source for timber construction and craft-grade bamboo poles, plants, and products. They specialize in eco-friendly, reclaimed wood products for the home and garden. They're located in Portland, Oregon, and they've been servicing the Northwest for over 10 years. They can be reached at 503-839-8126 and on Facebook at Pacific West Bamboo, and they do ship nationwide. Our newest sponsor is InfinityHomePlans.com. Check out Infinity Home Plans and Design Services, your resource for 3D and 2D architectural services. They offer a multitude of products, including stock home plans, 2D digital drawings, and 3D models and renderings. Don't forget, GoFundMe.com. Go to the Opera Report Studio Fund and help us out. Help us build a studio and get some good quality microphones. So you don't want to hear that. You want to hear good quality microphones, right? So that's what we're working toward. Okay, so Hank, God, man, I tell you, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. What do you want to leave us with, man? I mean, we did.
Oh, I don't have time. I got to go wash the dishes, dude.
No, 3.5 hours. Leave the dishes. We've been on for almost 3.5 hours, man. But what do you want to leave us with, man? You know, I think you got. I think you got through. I think you got through to the audience, man. I think people really see a good guy. You know. So what do you want to leave us with?
I haven't always been a good guy. I was a bad guy back in the day, but it didn't get me anywhere.
I was a bad guy too.
I'm
okay,
a good guy. I don't know. I do have to go wash the dishes, though. I mean, there's an old Zen thing, you know, clean out your rice bowl and wash your dishes. That's what you want to do next. And I got to go clean my bowl. You know, it's sort of the way I'm living right now. And anybody that wants to help me out, okay, fine. Come up to. I live in a place called Galt near Sacramento, California. Anybody's ever in the 99 highway area between Lodi and Elk Grove, around that area in the country, you want to go for a horseback ride, you want to come up and visit, spend a couple of hours, we'll set it up, write the email up, zendog@gmail.com, and we'll work it out.
Yeah, it's Zendog with 2 G's. Zendog with 2 G's.
Yeah, and if you want to make a donation to save some horses, Miles can always use a couple of bucks. So whatever you want to do, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Anything you guys want to say before we leave?
Thank you for your time, Hank.
Thanks, you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Cindy Jean-Pierre from CJMarsRadio.com for hosting the after show. Cindy, how do you support your station? Do you support it through donations?
No, we're strictly nonprofit and just giving back to the community, as it were.
Well, God bless you. That's great to know, man. So that translated, that means Cindy's paying for this out of her own pocket. Okay,
That's right.
Just to get the word out, okay? But God bless you, Cindy, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome, Ed. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Hank, any last words?
Yeah, 27 horses. It can't be a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's right. The horses got to eat, right? Hey, so running
right,
a ranch. Did you ever meet that guy Clive and Bundy?
They don't care. I mean, they get their money for their hay before around here. They'll let a horse die before they give away a grade of hay.
Yeah, I hear you,
so,
man.
You know, we're doing okay though, man. We're working out. You get to the website, you'll see the ponies, you'll see the pony school, you'll see the training we do, the day camps, and my old lady's going in for a hip replacement operation next month, and I'm going to have to be holding the whole thing down while she's gone. And to me, it's just our daily lives, and we've done good. We're happy with what we've done. And I'm sorry that I offended a lot of people over the years that thought I was trying to betray my daughter. How dare you? Tom Grant, for example, always thought, how dare you not stick to your daughter's side? I said, I don't condone murder, man. And he was saying it was murder, so how did he want me to? I don't understand why he wanted me to stick to her, you know, be supportive of her when he was saying, and I agreed with him, that she had murdered her husband. So, you know, she didn't actually lift a gun or have anything to do with that, but she was able to manipulate the environment to such an extent and events that Kurt wound up got the rear end of the
Yeah, and in Tom Grant's defense, you know, as a PI, you know, I do a lot of criminal defense work as well as Tom Grant. I'm sure he does. And you just kind of look at these things and kind of say, like, hey, you know, the guy's in a jackpot. Let's get him out of it, you know, even though they're guilty. So whatever his thing is, you know, God bless him too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's time to go now.
Okay, thank you. And if you want to come do my dishes too, man, Hank, I'm over here. You can stop by, all right?
Where are you?
I'm in Vegas, man.
Right. I want to be down there because I'm in touch with a woman named Lori Buckley, who's Lord Buckley's daughter. I used to know her very, very well, and I'm still in touch with her. She wants me to go back down to Vegas with her because she's like the queen of the underground in Vegas now, you know. You ought to interview her. That's who you ought to interview. Lori Buckley. That's who to get a hold of, man.
Okay, I will. Get in touch with me after the show, man.
Have you ever heard of Lord Buckley?
Lord Buckley, yes. Lori Buckley, no.
The comedian, Lord Buckley.
No, I don't think so.
Lord, yeah, the Naz. If you look up Lord Buckley before you call Lori, you'll get a kick.
Okay, I will.
LORDBUCKLEY, Lord Buckley.
Okay, Hank, I'm going to stay in touch with you, man. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about still.
I got it, bro. I'm tied in.
No, I hear you, man. I hear it.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
God bless.
And we